States Department has announced criminal charges against Chinese technology company Huawei, a move likely to intensify trade tensions between the two countries. A 13-count indictment was revealed in New York, charging Huawei, two of its affiliates, and its chief financial officer Meng Wanzhou. The charges include bank fraud, obstructing justice, and conspiring to steal trade secrets from T-Mobile in the US. FBI Director Christopher Wray says his agency will not stand idly by while any entity seeks to undermine America's place in the world.
Today's charges serve as a warning that the FBI does not and will not tolerate businesses that violate our laws, obstruct our justice, and jeopardize our national security. We will not stand idly by while any entity, whether it's a foreign government or corporation, seeks to criminally or unfairly undermine our country's place in the world.
North America correspondent James Glenday says the implications for US-China relations are not yet clear.
We don't really know exactly what it's going to mean in the long run for US-China relations, but you'd have to think it's going to be pretty significant. This was a pretty big press conference. We knew it was coming. We knew that the United States was going to press ahead with the extradition of Huawei's CFO Meng Wanzhou, but we didn't know what the charges would be. And there wasn't just one indictment that was partially unsealed, which revealed the charges in New York, which relates to Ms. Meng, but there was also another one in Seattle, which made a series of other accusations, or makes a series of other accusations against the Chinese technology giant as well. So it is certainly very significant that these charges are being pushed ahead with at a time when, of course, the United States and China's relationship is at a pretty much, not an all-time low, but it's certainly not in a good place, and we're in the midst of a truce in a fairly substantial trade war. So two different lots of sanctions, the one from New York, and that relates to Ms. Meng and the effort to skirt sanctions with Iran. They date back quite some time, more than 10 years. It essentially accuses Huawei and some of its subsidiaries of bank and wire fraud and then obstructing justice as well. And we're going to hear more about those charges next month when that extradition takes place of Ms. Meng, or certainly the hearing to begin the extradition process takes place in Vancouver on February the 6th. The other lot of charges relate to the Chinese telecommunication giant allegedly taking photos of a robot that was used to test phones by company T-Mobile, and then even an allegation that parts of that robotic tester product were also stolen as well. So certainly quite significant allegations.
Telecommunications company Tpg is ceasing the rollout of its mobile network, which would have been a fourth competitor in the Australian market. It's told the stock exchange that it was using Huawei equipment for the network, and the federal government's decision to ban the use of Huawei equipment has derailed its plans. For more on this, I'm joined in the studio by our business editor, Ian Verinder. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Ross.
What's your reaction to this?
Well, not surprised really, but there's quite an unusual tale around all of this as well, because it's not just TPG and the Huawei connection that's up in the air here. There's also a takeover bid on the table, a $15 billion takeover bid from Vodafone for TPG. And it's highly likely that that is the driving force behind this, because as we just heard, TPG is in the process of building Australia's fourth mobile network, and the competition regulator has stated on several occasions that it had a real problem with Vodafone, which is also, it's the third biggest mobile network operator, taking over another mobile operator. So if you cease production, or you cease the rollout of your mobile network, you eliminate those competition problems, and of course the takeover can go ahead.
So it's convenient timing and a convenient decision for TPG.
Absolutely. I mean, and look, the share prices, the movements today reflect that as well, because TPG has gone up. It's come off the boil a little bit this afternoon. But Telstra has been a real winner. It's now up around about 4.6%, its shares. And so that's, the removal of a potential competitor there has seriously helped Telstra's share price today.
Why did TPG choose Huawei? In
Price.
the first place? Okay.
One word, price. The other potential suppliers, Nokia and Ericsson, I think they are much more expensive in terms of what they charge for their componentry. And so, Huawei is much cheaper. You could possibly ask the question, why is it so much cheaper? Perhaps it's trying to get a foot into all these markets. But, if you just think back on the timing of all of this, it was April 2017 when TPG said it would start building a fourth network. August last year, the government announced this ban on 5G, and the reason TPG has said that they've gone with Huawei is because it's a very easy upgrade from 4G to 5G. So they were building 4G, and then they were going to upgrade to 5G. And
with Huawei equipment, though,
yes,
despite the ban.
That's right. Well, once the government announced this back, in August last year, you would have expected that if this was really a concern, that you would stop spending money and stop rolling it out. Now, they say that they've simply installed the equipment that they've already had on hand, and they've now had to come to a decision about whether they buy new equipment. But there's still manpower and a lot of other expense involved. They've spent about $100 million out of their $600 million budget. But still, you would have thought that they'd stop this earlier.
So what does this mean for consumers?
Well, I think the idea that you won't have a fourth player in the network would mean that you're going to have less competition. And so we're not going to get any serious reduction in price on a retail level.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Ros.